So excited to do this series, and it's going to be around freedom. But we're going to bring our first topic today is going to be on purpose. And one of the cornerstones of how do human beings think in general? How do human beings ideally think? And one of the things that you learn, at least I've learned over the course of the past decade and a half, is that if there is no sense of purpose, there's very little direction. There's no structure in your life. There's no direction, and there's no aspiration towards anything. If those things are not in place, I can give you all sorts of tools, like the most amazing tools you can think of, like for productivity block times or Pomodoro methods, or I'll give you all sorts of mindset things to think about. But if you're not clear about what gives you purpose, what is your sense of purpose, how do you look at purpose, and it'll be different for different people. We'll go into it. If you're not doing that, then there is no direction for you. Even the vision or even the goals that you come up with, they will be sort of pointless. And what will end up happening is that you will try to work through your goals and you'll do some block times and stuff, but you don't feel pulled towards it. There is no conviction. There is no heart in it. There is no pull in it. It doesn't connect to who you are. It's just one of those things you feel like you should be doing in order to be productive or a contributing member of the world, or to meet some kind of expectation that's been subconsciously set for you. I'll start it with that view, and we'll go into also, so we'll talk a little bit about the overall purpose. What does that mean? How can you start to think about what purpose is for you? And then we'll go into the purpose for your business. Because if your business is disconnected from your overall purpose, I bet you're going to struggle in all sorts of ways. You might even build a successful business in terms of the cash flow or the systems that you have, but it will be meaningless to you. And you will want to just get rid of it, and you will be miserable going through it. And it's going to hurt a lot of other parts of your life. And so I'll invite Kelly on this. Both Kelly and I are going to kind of work through this together with you. We're going to share some of the experiences that we've had in this and the people that we've served in this area to help them develop a more conscious purpose for their life, for them to create a better vision for their life, for them to go towards their goals in a conscious, strategic way, so they can build the life and business that's ideal for them, their family, their community, their path forward. Kelly, why don't you get us started on this?
I love it. Amazing, amazing intro. If you're joining us live and you're watching this, please drop a 1 so we know you're joining us live. We'd love to say hi to you, celebrate you. We'll check later.
I'll drop a 1 too. It's in front of me.
Yeah. Or if you're catching the replay, press a 2. We just want to make sure that we can say hi to you, acknowledge you. If you're either watching live or catching the replay, we want to thank you for being part of the community and part of this first of 3 series coming up. So what I kind of think of as purpose, I love making things feel easier and simple. And to me, that means alignment. To me, that means that there's no necessarily differentiation of who I am and how I'm showing up in the world. And to me, this is like next level thinking, to be honest to me, because I would say even as an individual, I didn't find my true calling or things that happened in my life, but I would say I was like 38 on teetering on 39 when I had a big shift in my life. And that's when I felt like I really began to think about purpose. Like I would say the first decade and a half, I was grinding. I was chasing money more so than thinking about my purpose and legacy and longevity, sustainability, all the other things. I didn't really think that way. How about you? I'm curious, and with your clients, you're coming into you for support, like, is there an age that you see that this comes up, or do you think age isn't a part of it and it's just everyone is activated or goes through something that activates their purpose at another time in their life?
Generally speaking, I would say, so most of my clients, I think they discover a lot of this stuff at around mid 30s to 40s to even closer to 50s, where they're starting to think about a lot of these things. And for me, it was, I would say, mid 30s where I started to think in the sense. Early 30s, I was trying to make sense of my own path and what matters to me. But then when I started thinking about purpose and vision and what's the direction for my life, it was more around mid 30s. I think I was 35ish, somewhere around there,
Yeah.
or 34ish. And I think generally speaking, this is the age where people are starting to get a certain amount of experience in their life.
Mhm.
They're starting to see through some of the bullshit.
Yeah.
But to put it mildly, they're starting to see through some of the bullshit that they've been following. And what ends up happening is you're like, okay, I'll put it in the words of Alan Watts. It's like you're taught to kind of go through life, build this life, okay, go to school, get a job, and buy the house, get the family. And you go through the period. And incidentally, most of my clients have done all of that. So
Right.
they get to a point, they have a successful career, they have their family, they either have kids or their kids are coming up in the future. Some of them have their kids are grown up now. And they look back, in the words of Alan Watts, with a certain sense of feeling cheated.
Yeah. Ooh. Ooh.
And it's
Okay.
like, why did I follow it in this specific direction? And what was I hoping to gain out of it? And the
Yeah.
hope was that the people that were telling us, they knew what they were talking about. And then from my perspective, like often I've gone back to the people who would tell me these things when I was younger, when I was in high school or before that. It's like, so what now? Okay, I'm here. You're much older. What is, and when I'm watching their life when they're in their 70s, 60s, 80s, those were the people who told me this stuff. So they're lost. They're
Mm,
lost, full of
like,
regrets, full
yeah.
of disconnect from their life. And when you ask them, where did you get this from? They have no idea where it came from. They just picked it up, just like I picked it up, just like everybody else picked it up. So it was an automatic, and this is how human beings learn. This is how human beings do things, is by modeling other people around us, our
Mhm.
parents, our teachers, our peers. And then if you come to a point where you are conscious, by the way, in my experience, I haven't seen everybody to be conscious. I used to think that people get to a point where they become conscious, but there are people who go through their whole life, they just react to life for the most part. But if you get to a point where now you're at a point in your life where you've seen a death in the family, or you've gone through a difficult change in your life, or through a traumatic period, usually these are the moments, or a change in business or life, that gets people to pause and reflect.
Right.
And for me, that's what happened. Like I went through a period of addiction. I went through a period of depression. I went through a period where I didn't have direction. I didn't have a sense of purpose. And then it got me to go towards this, like become open to, okay, what is another way? Is there another way? Because when I would talk to other people around me, they're like, well, this is life. This is just how it is. This is how everybody lives. I didn't buy that, but I didn't know any other way.
I love that. Did you have the thought? So where I found myself and where I find a lot of people I come in contact with is the thought comes across their mind, is this as good as it gets? That was
Yeah.
that when I was having what I consider my breakdown to breakthrough moment was I remember laying in bed, like literally crying out, wondering, is this as good as it gets? Because I kind of followed that same pathway that you just said in the beginning. You go to school, then you went to college, and then you graduated, and then we started a company, and then everyone's like, grow, grow, grow. So we bought another company, and then they're like, keep growing, growing, growing. And then we get to this point where we thought we had mastered, or what we thought we were trying to achieve. And I was left with all this like emptiness because I'd achieved one thing, but at that point in time, I was what I would call a public success and a private failure. So then was I living my purpose, or was my purpose like out of alignment? Because at that point in time for me, I was chasing money. To me, I think you should make a lot of money. I want you to make a lot of money. But if you're only focusing on money, to me, it's a false positive. And that's where I found myself. Because at a point in time when we did sell the business, the validation stopped, the money stopped. So that is what sent me on an inward journey of who am I if I'm not Kelly with X? And that is where I discovered my purpose. But it's that you probably have achieved a level of success, and now you're questioning, what do you want the next level of success to look like and feel like? Because it's probably not feeling, what I find to be true, is as good as we thought it was going to feel when we set out to discover it or hit the mark in the first place.
So I love that your story is different from mine, because
Yeah.
I didn't come from like success in entrepreneurship, but you did. And those are the two general. So most of my clients have gone through the corporate route, and like they have successful careers and a job. I actually did neither in the beginning. So I studied engineering, and I went into the work field. 2 years into it, I found myself more and more miserable. I was good at what I did and I kept getting promotions. But when I kind of, like, I had this incident where I had this guy beside me in a cubicle, my colleague, and just I went through like 6 month period of like I made all these improvements in their production process and I put 3 times more production and everything. And after a while, it got relaxed a little bit, and I spent a lot of my time just doing other things. I could finish my work in 2 3 days. And I
Mhm.
just watched this colleague of mine. He was going through day to day. He had the same routine. Like he would come in, he would do some stuff on his desk, and then go walk around and come back. And I watched him till Friday. Friday hit, I freaked out because I saw him do the same thing. I'm like, I, I don't care how much they pay me. I do not see myself doing this shit.
Yeah, you're like, am I living or am I dying in this moment?
Yeah, I'm like, that is not what I visualize as any form of success because it looked like I was kind of wheeling the cog. And a lot of people who go through the corporate world, they kind of feel like that after a while, no matter what level of success. For some reason, I was too scared to even try that thing. But then you talked about the other side of it that many of my clients are following now. So they tried the corporate, now they're like, okay, that didn't work. I'm going to start a business or I'm going
Yeah,
to start the investing route and I'm going to do this thing. And the assumption is, but they do have a better mindset around it in the sense that they want more time freedom than
right,
versus just more money.
right.
But even with that, even if you have time freedom, you have money. I have clients who have a lot of time and who have a lot of money, but they're utterly miserable.
Mhm.
And that comes back to what Kelly keeps alluding to is alignment.
Yeah.
And alignment is really important when it comes to your life, is that how you're showing up on a day-to-day basis, is that based on what matters to you? Is that based on who you are, or is that based on some form of conscious or unconscious expectation that you're following, whether it's
Ooh,
by your parents, society, or other people around you, or whoever?
that just got me hyped. You know, I got hyped when I switched with you.
When I hear woo, all
When we get a whoop whoop and the
right,
champion.
people, Kelly's hyped.
But to me, where I usually spend the first 3 months with any client is unbecoming. We are so that's why I just got hyped because you were talking about the conditioning and the patterns and the routines. And so I like to help you become. And I think there's power in killing the old stories, killing the old programs, killing the ways we thought we had to do things, and start to ask the questions: what do I want to do? What do I get to do? What gets me excited? What gets me hyped to get out of bed in the morning? And so now we're assuming, I'm going to fast forward this conversation, assuming we're working with a lot of conscious people that have had a level of success, but are now wondering, how can I go from good to great? How can I take these achievements, but now have the inside match the outside? And I think that's where purpose comes full circle, is when your internal dialogue, your internal views, the way you want to feel matches your KPIs, matches your sales goal, matches your year-end revenue, but it's done from a place of switching it. And I like to find as much joy in the day as possible, and not joy if I hit a goal, then I'll be happy if I do this, because purpose and receiving is activated through gratitudes. Oh, as much as I want you to find your purpose, I want you to find joy and peace and love along the way. Because sometimes I think when we have these moments where we're finding our purpose, we're being called to be redefined. And it's more about who we're becoming than what we're going through. So purpose activates dormant parts within us. So sometimes when we go through these things, when you were having your aha moment, or I was having my aha moment, those aha moments happen to us so that we could then be a teacher of this. We couldn't teach purpose and passion and legacy if we hadn't gone through and experienced it and been able to activate it within other people. You know what I mean? So this is
I
where it
love
gets
that.
really good.
Yeah, I really, really love it. And that hypes me up. So that's good. So the thing that I want to unpack a couple of things in there. So the unbecoming part, I think there was this inventor or scientist, forget his name right now, he's very famous, but he said that I think the biggest challenge for people, especially in the modern world, will be not learning, but unlearning and then relearning.
Mhm.
And that's the world that we're going through. You're not going to find, there's no lack of information anymore. You
Mm.
can pretty much find anything on anything and learn it and join certain communities and start to implement it. tools and skill sets and information is so abundant that it's unfathomable, to be honest. Like when I look back 10 years ago, like we didn't have access to all this stuff. We didn't have smartphones and all these things to work through. Or was it 10 or 12 years ago, something like that? We had the flip phones.
Faisal, I was still putting ads in the phone book 12 years ago. Like
yeah, so it's like I don't have to. I mean, my whole business is my phone and laptop. That's
Right.
for the most part. That's where and it's incredibly powerful.
Mhm.
So there is no lack of information. And so why is it that we have so much information, so many tools? There are no lack of how-tos. All you have to do is Google, and now there's Chat GPT, which you don't even have to Google it.
Yeah.
But so with all this, why is it that people are held back? Why is it that people have unfulfilled lives? And there was one psychologist that tried to kind of battle this a while ago. Maslow talked about this even in the 1930s, where people had so much abundance coming in. And this assumption was in the United States is that, well, if we have more food, if we have more leisure time, if we have all this stuff coming in, you should ideally be happy. But what ended up happening was people were not happier. People were not at peace. People were becoming more anxious. People are becoming more stressed. And this is where a bigger theme in life and alignment and all these things matters. I want to circle back to unbecoming. What is that? So I always ask this question, and I don't know where I heard this in a lecture a long time ago, and it just stuck with me, is that who were you before the world got its hands on you? And so we're all brought up in different contexts, but we start out as human beings, we start out with the family. Whatever context that family had, whether it was a single mom or parents or a bigger community, you come in, first of all, you don't come in with a language, so keep that in mind. So whatever thoughts you have in relation to any kind of language, like English or Farsi or Spanish, Italian, whatever, those are thoughts that were given to you because you didn't come into this world with that. So those could be really powerful, positive thoughts, or those could be incredibly destructive thoughts, which we can go into how our beliefs are set up around this. But when you come into this world, you come with a sense of adventure. You come with a sense of curiosity. You come with a potential. In fact, when we look at kids, what do we see? Like, kids are fairly useless, to be honest. They can't do anything. When they come into this life, I have two daughters, and they can't even move. They were just looking, but we're so amazed at this.
Right.
We're looking at it. They can't do anything, but what do we see? We don't see them. We actually see their potential.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, this person is like I have to do all this work, but this person is amazing. And this is why when you actually interview parents, the hardest work for them might be being a parent, but the most fulfilling thing might be a parent because they are helping blossom this potential that can come into this world.
Yeah.
So you come into this world, first of all, you come with this potential, and then you come into a community, a family, and this is normal and natural that you will be given a variation of positive, negative, some things that will work for you, that works for that community or for that family, but some things that will be completely insane, some things that will not work. And then there was a comedian I was listening to the other day. He's like, those moments where you realize that, he put it in extreme ways, like you realize when your parents were morons, and I'm not saying your parents are morons. He was just a comedian saying it, but he's like, so our family was like us when we're trying to build, like, we make mistakes. So did they. Even though they appear like your heroes, they made mistakes. They didn't realize what they were passing on half the time. We will do the same exact thing. So what is it that you learned? And it will be a mixture of positive and negative things. Some things will apply to you and to the path that you're in. Some things will feel aligned. Many things will not. So what we're talking about, the unlearning processes, is really stepping back from your reaction mode and reacting to whatever your past was, really becoming conscious of, okay, how do I want to show up now? Who am I in this whole process?
Yeah.
If I were to take, and Kelly was talking about, who would she be without the money? Who is she without the money? Who's she without the role? But I would say make it even more extreme. Who are you without your identity as being part of this family, or being part of this culture, as being part of this system? Who are you without any of that stuff? Obviously, you're interconnected to that, but when you can find that part and you understand what alignment is with that, then you're going to understand, oh, what can I pick and choose from this abundant array of things that I can take from my environment that would serve my path to move forward in a direction that matters to me. I don't know if I complicated that overly, but maybe Kelly can break it down.
No, I think it's good. And I think you nailed it. Where I think you can further this exploration on your own is through inner child work, through shadow work, through what I call like adult temper tantrums. These are the times in our life when we are throwing a fit or we're feeling triggered or we have an anxiety coming up. And a lot of being conscious is recognizing, is this feeling that's coming up part of my current reality? Or am I feeling something from before, from earlier in life? And now I have a choice as a fully integrated adult to show up and choose a different way to respond or react to the situation. So for me personally, I think you can learn a lot about who you are and how you're wired by following it back and following what you're feeling and following it back to other times in your life when you felt that same thing. And then asking yourself, do I want to still choose to feel this or do I want to let this go? So I think there's power. You know, you're jokingly talk about kids being worthless, but I always have this analogy, like no one holds up a brand new baby and was like, you're not worthy. Like everybody holds up a brand new baby and they're like, yay, it's born, it's alive. Oh, and everybody celebrates. And a lot, going back to inner child a little bit more, I think if you can think of what you had fun with and you can activate the fun within you, I think a lot of your purpose is hidden there. Like for me, I actually went to school to be a teacher, had a background in psychology, but I only ever taught 2 years. But I'm still teaching every day in and out. The teacher's in me, but I played teacher every single day in my bedroom growing up. So I really like remembering the times and activating the parts within us when we felt free, when we felt taken care of, because a lot of times we're doing our purpose because we don't have anything else we have to think about or take care of. And so I think when we talked about just navigating purpose, I think taking some time to slow down to speed up. I talk about that a lot. You know, if you are even interested in this conversation, odds are you might even feel like this is painful to slow down to even think this way because you're probably on to the next thing and ready for the next goal and the next challenge because that's in you. But imagine how much more of an impact you could have if it was coming from inside of you and then it felt good too. Now I might have just confused us more.
I love that you actually simplified the process. And I love that you brought us back to, and you alluded to a couple of things that one, like going back to that question of who were you before the world got its hands on you? Well, you were a child. What do children do? Children are always looking for something that they have. You can't force them to do something, to be honest. Like if they're like, my kids are painting for a while, they'll paint for a while. And if I'm interrupting, and my older daughter usually is like, Baba, I'm trying to focus. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to walk away now. But then if I'm trying to get her to do something else, she won't. But if she gets tired of that in that moment, she just moves on. She just goes.
Yeah.
Like there's not even a second thought about, oh, I've committed this much time to this. Blah, blah. She just moves on, moves to the thing, and she just has fun. There's a level of engagement, focus, there's curiosity, there's fun, there's joy. These are very natural things to us. The problem is when you become an adult, you kind of lose sight of that because what do they tell you? It's like, get serious, focus, like all sorts of things as if we didn't have those things to begin with. And again, this is not to blame anybody. It's just that this has happened generationally in a sense. Like whoever got treated that way, they just pass that on to the next generation. And stepping back, and I loved what you said, is that most people will even be overwhelmed just hearing this. I'm like, well, I'm already busy. And like, how can I do this stuff? Well, even if you just step back from your day, like take a couple of moments, it could have a 30-minute block time or 15-minute block time. Keep doing your goals, whatever you're doing, do it. But if you just step back and just reflect, how do I feel in this moment? Do I feel anxious? And Kelly keeps talking about what you feel, because the feelings are really important. Feelings are a way for your body to make you aware of what's happening inside of you. And usually we don't remember feelings because we are in the mind world, which we're reflecting on thoughts, images, and goals and all that stuff. We're so disconnected, we're not noticing the signals from our body. And so what do you feel in that moment? What do I feel in this moment? The thing that I'm doing right now, does this matter to me? What do I really want to do? What matters to me? And that could be questions towards your personal life. That could be questions towards your business. And it could be just as simple as that. And just write down your thoughts and just notice what you're feeling. That could be the beginning of stopping the reactionary mode, which is to just go from one appointment to the next. And there are days I do that too, but then I have reflection times within it. Morning, afternoon, and evening, I usually have reflection times. Like, okay, what happened? What did I do? This thing, the day that I went through, even though I was busy, was that meaningful to me? Did that matter to me? Did I enjoy it? Did I gain something from it? Is this still part of my vision, part of my path? Like those are questions that helps us understand, are we on the right track? And nobody else can tell you any of that stuff. I can't sit there and tell you, oh, you should be doing this. And this is what we hear most of our life. So we look for external validation. But what we're asking you to do is to take some time to reflect and notice, what's your own system telling you?
I love that. Two things come up for me when you share that is, one, I think so often with the culture of go, go, go and more and more and more, I think that we do get in such a rinse and repeat cycle that we actually forget what it feels like to feel good, because we haven't cultivated that space for self-care, self-love, self-compassion, self-acceptance. We haven't set time aside for that. So we don't even know how kind of far away we've gotten from our true, pure bliss, joy, and happiness, because we're so caught up in the hustle and bustle. So I think slowing down truly allows you to speed up, because it allows you to come home to yourself and hear your own head. There's so many voices around you. And I think if you work on the questions that Faisal shared, what that's going to do is it's going to help create the awareness. And once it comes up in you, it's ready to be activated. Your purpose is meant to activate you. And being an entrepreneur is hard. So you have to stretch outside of your comfort zone. You're going to have limiting beliefs or low serving emotions that are going to want to hold you back. And your purpose is your compass. That's your GPS, your red light dashboard indicator, to remind you of your why and activate that why so you can continue to live out your purpose.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And just really kind of think of it also bringing business into the picture, as Kelly has, is that, so we're looking at it at a high level, is that you need to have some level of awareness to be even conscious of why you're doing the things that you're doing. What does it matter to you to do? Because I mean, think about entrepreneurship. It's a hard process. It's not an easy process. There's a lot in there. Like the way I describe it is that you've been kind of living in this golden cage most of your life. If you're in the job world, and all of a sudden the cage door opens, you open up, you're excited about it. There's a whole forest. You go in there and like, holy shit, there are predators all around. What the hell do I do?
You just brought up something so good. I just had an aha reminder moment myself. A lot of times in the corporate world, because even when we had a company, I still was representing our company, so it wasn't all on me. Yeah, and yeah. I never thought about myself to this level until I was 100% Kelly Adams coaching. Because even at ACE, I was able to hide behind something. So I think entrepreneurship forces you into a self-discovery journey, because now it's about you. And now the judgment that hides behind a logo, or the fear or the shame or the scared to ask, now becomes all of you. So you have to feel safe being seen, feel safe being heard, feel safe using your voice, and all of these things that you might have been programmed or conditioned over the years to go dormant. And then all of a sudden you're an entrepreneur and you're like, wow, like exactly you just said, holy shit. It's like, strap on, because we're going for a ride.
And there are so many uncertainties in there, because like you said, like you can hide behind the system. Like when you actually think of a normal business that you're part of, we don't normally think about it, but the people who created it, they have thought about a whole plan and structure. There's vision in there, and there are goals in there, there are structures in there. And you are just one component of that. So you can feel safe. If I just keep doing this thing, everything will be good. And the faith is in the business to run itself. And sometimes it crashes and burns, and you're like, oh, what the hell happened in there? But a lot of times it continues. But you're an aspect of that. But as soon as you go like full, like let's say if you have a business such as us, like a coaching business, or you're an influencer of sorts, or you're a multifamily investor, you're going full on yourself, you're going to have to promote yourself. You're going to have to do your capital raising, or at least rely on team members to do that. You're going to have to set your own schedule. Like that's one of the weirdest things that I've seen people who have done like multi-million-dollar raises for like other organization when they come into entrepreneurship. They're amazing in sales, but as soon as they come in, they get scared. They're good at creating structures, so that we're like, okay, let's come up with a schedule. What are you going to focus on? They will put everything in there, but the things that will actually move the business forward. Because they're so scared.
Okay, let me drop one of my little Kelly one-liners here. Money is safer with you when you are safer with you. That's why it's all about you now as an entrepreneur. So it feels scared to ask for that, because now it's you're asking and you're assuming other people's pocketbooks, and you're assuming other people's judgment or other people's X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
So I think as you're on your self-discovery journey, you are able to pull some of your shadows. Shadows to me are dark spots, things that we like to hide, things we want to push down, things we don't want to think about. But when you bring them to the light, they lose their power and you find yours. So when you do this stuff or talk about the stuff or process or journal through the stuff that you're scared of, then there's awareness, and then there's no fear that can reside where there's light at the same time. Now it's just messy action. So again, the safer you are with you, the safer money is with you, period.
Yeah, and I've seen that. So one of the things that I've adapted, which is very odd for me because I'm not a movement type of person.
Yeah.
Well, there is no type of person that I believe, but most of my life I grew up being much slower. And even there was a point where I was just fixing these sheets with my wife for the bed. And she's really fast. She's doing all that stuff. I'm like, I just realized I feel like I'm a sloth. and not in a negative way. I'm like, I like going slow. He's
Right.
like, yeah, you could have asked me a few years ago. I'm like, okay, good. You know that. So, but the fun thing is that I find myself being much more movement oriented, not because I like being overly ambitious or I'm doing all this stuff, but just I'm pulled in that direction
Yeah.
because I just love what I'm doing and I'm passionate about what I'm doing. And this is a huge part of my contribution, my purpose, and all that stuff. A lot of it is not that because I'm doing this, it becomes just a part of you. It becomes aligned with you. And
Yeah.
how I describe it is I'm on top of this wave, and the wave is the force underneath me, and I'm kind of just enjoying the journey. So whether I like it or not, I'm getting pulled in this direction, or I'm getting pushed in this direction. And that's actually the feeling that you brought up, shadow work. One of my favorite persons for that is Carl Jung.
Yeah.
He's like the father of that work because as a psychologist, he did a lot of that exploration within himself. And one of my favorite books, Memories, Dreams, and Reflections. And he talks about it, and he put it the same way that Socrates did, is that I wish I could take credit for all these things that I did, but it wasn't me. There was a part of me within myself that actually pulled me in that direction. Call that my daemon, which it's not demon, it's daemon. It's like a personal god or a spirit or a force within you. And you feel it, and you can put it in terms of your soul, your heart, your core, your true self that starts to get activated, and you naturally become more ambitious in a sense, but more consciously ambitious. And what we're trying to get you to see is that there is that part of you there. And then what I was alluding to the business side is that your business needs to fit into that. Your business can't be an outside thing outside of who you are. And a lot of times I see this with entrepreneurs or people who are trying to become entrepreneurs, that they will have all these opportunities because they are ambitious. Like, oh, I'll do this thing and I'll do this thing because I don't want to put all my eggs in the same basket. And because that's what I'm told by Warren Buffett and all these guys. Well, actually, Warren Buffett says the opposite of that. The other guys who said says it. But when you're actually exploring their life, they're doing one thing that matters to them. They're doing 4 other things that has nothing to do with them, and they're constantly distracted by them. And they hate being in there. They hate being part of the meetings. They can't stand putting effort. They're frustrated half the time. When you ask them, well, why are you frustrated? Isn't that what you chose to go into? And then you find out, no, they just reacted into it. They never made a choice. And what we're trying to get you to do is think about, well, what feels aligned with you? What matters to you? What brings joy to you? What could ideally create more passion in your life? Who do you need to become? Who do you want to become ideally in the process as you're growing? And a lot of this is about your own growth, and your business, the money, the family, everything is an expression of that ultimately.
I love it. You guys, as you're watching this back, if anything is coming up for you or through for you in regards to purpose, or a time that you're able to share about how you discovered your purpose, please share that as well in comments, because I think there's power in normalizing. There's power in normalizing, hey, we're all humans. Like, these are the thoughts that we have. And how can we manage them, or how can we bring in a new thought, or how can we just expand? So it's like everything is just here to be an expander for you. So hopefully you can grab one little nugget, one takeaway, because if you listen to this and you do nothing, you just wasted your 45 minutes. Let's be honest here. If you listen to this and you take one action, one 15% step, and decide to stick with it, and this is sets and reps. You can't just decide you're going to do this today and then stop tomorrow, or else I'd have a 6-pack, because everybody who joined the gym 2 weeks at the gym are super busy, but it's also a choice. And I want to say it's a choice, and it comes with practice by choosing. You can choose how you want to show up now. You can choose different. You can choose to operate from your purpose and from your passion. And people around joke because I'm like, okay, I decided as of today, I'm now X. And I literally was calling in a new attribute that I want to be a receiver of. And now for me, it's sets and reps. I will practice doing that day in and day out until it's just a part of me now. So that's with purpose. You're going to begin to think about it. You might explore it, but it's through repetition and consistently having ongoing thought work and processes, and to decondition and unbecome, that you actually find your purpose. So don't get discouraged if you're like, oh, I journaled for 3 minutes and I don't know what it is yet. Okay, cool. Well, you took one step. Now what's a step you can take tomorrow?
Yeah, this is why we can't just say, oh, this is your purpose. Or it's even for me, like I can say, okay, there are things that matter to me right now and I have a purpose statement and everything, but this is an ongoing journey. This is an ongoing discovery, that the path that you're on, every step that you take, and it's with action that you actually develop more clarity. Most of the clarity comes in action, not before it. And yes, there's a level of thinking we can do around our vision, around our goals, and around the things that matter to us, the reflection points, but a lot of it will get revealed to you as you take that next step forward. And that's what we're trying to get you to do. So I want to get you to think about two big kind of question themes, and then a couple of challenges in here too for you to work on. One is really ask yourself, like, is my life in alignment with who I am? So what if you want to dig a little bit in there, does this life matter to me? Did I create this because I consciously love this process of growth, the life that I've created? And it doesn't mean that there aren't challenges. That means you accept the challenges, the positive, the negative, all of it. You accept all of it. This is what I wanted. Because Lord knows there are challenges in life every week, pretty much. And that's the process of that. But you can choose to do that. And then ask yourself, the business or businesses I have, do they feel aligned with that bigger theme for me, with that bigger alignment or that bigger purpose? And really reflect on that. And the challenge would be is take out at least 15, 20 minutes to think about this and see what comes up, and share your thoughts with us here. And we're going to go on this journey with you. And hopefully some of these things really trigger some realization or thought or insight for you to take a new step in a positive direction or in a different direction that matters to you.
I love it. I think so. Today we dove into purpose. If this conversation supported you, then I would suggest you come and join us back here next Tuesday, 1:00 Eastern as well, where we're going to move from purpose into passion. And then we're going to bring this series full circle the following week, where we're going to talk about how do we take that purpose and that passion and create our legacy. So we hope you stick along with us for these next 2 weeks as we unpack this. And Faisal, I'll let you close up.
Yeah, well, this was a lot of fun for me too. Again, this was the first time we're kind of doing something like this, Kelly and I. So I hope you bear with us. So we're still trying to navigate through our thoughts. And it's amazing how much alignment there is. We had an intuition about it, but we didn't actually know how it would go. So it's even for us kind of jumping in, doing this, it takes a little bit of, okay, we'll just do this and figure out what comes out of it. So thank you for bearing with us on that. And I'm excited to move forward towards passion and legacy, because I know a lot of you, as you're building a conscious life, you do think about your passion. Well, what matters to you within that? What do you feel on a consistent basis? What do you want to feel? And then the legacy, what are you leaving behind? What is the message? What is the model? What is the contribution that you're leaving behind in your life? And it gets more and more interesting as we go through this. Share your thoughts. Share your practice, share any realizations, any questions that you had. We'd love to support you. Personally, we would be messaging you and connecting with you. So let us know. And please like and share this and send it to anybody if you got value from this that would be served by this.
Well, cheers to income and impact. And we will see you next Tuesday.
All right.